Development can transform lives by supplying jobs, grant freedom from poverty, offer opportunities for empowering people, but growth is also a challenge because it puts pressure on environment. The question is, how can we balance the two, change things and find answers? Sitting on the banks of the river Yamuna is the Taj Mahal, a testament to love. It is perhaps India's most recognizable landmark. More than 2 million tourists visit this World Heritage Site annually. The entire economy of this region is directly or indirectly tied to this monument. But not long ago, the Taj was in danger. The glistening white marble of the Taj was turning black, threatening not only the Taj, but the livelihood of millions. The danger in the Taj trapezium, as this area is called, came from the numerous industries scattered in small townships all around the Taj. Firozabad, the glass capital of India, is one such township. Small industrial units here operate on coal and belch out smoke, blackening the skies over the Taj. Pappu Yadav, a worker in the factory, clearly remembers the daily trauma.
आबो हवा शहर की बहुत खराब थी। रोड पे अगर कपड़े नए पहन के निकले तो वो भी काले, धो के अगर छत पे सुखाए तो वो भी काले, यहाँ तक कि सवेरे अगर घर पुतवाया तो वो भी शाम को काला। कई एक परेशानियाँ थी कॉलेज में।
Then a change began to take shape, an effort to transform this polluting industrial township to a cleaner Firozabad. In response to public interest litigation in the Supreme Court to protect the Taj, in 1996, the court directed the industries to either close down or shift to natural gas. The government was instructed to supply cleaner fuels like natural gas to industrial units. Arrangements were made for gas to be available, but the units didn't have the technology to operate furnaces on natural gas. The costs for makeover were prohibitive.
कॉस्ट उन लोगों ने अप्रोक्सीमेट बताया था उस ज़माने में 30 लाख, जबकि वो हमारी कोल फायर्ड फर्नेस बनती थी 1-2 लाख में, तो कोई आदमी 30 लाख के रिस्क उठाने को तैयार नहीं था।
The industries were put in a predicament, shut down or make huge investments beyond most of their reach. A Delhi-based NGO, along with engineers from Britain, developed an energy-efficient natural gas-based pot and muffle furnace for the glass industries. Working with the stakeholders, the industry owners, and supported by the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation, these NGOs convinced Muhammad Islam Khan to install a demo unit in his factory. The installation of efficient combustion systems, better refractory and insulation materials, and improved structural design of furnaces directly contributed to 30 to 50% savings in energy. The initial huge investment began to make sense.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट का वरदान है ये, पूरे ताज ट्रेपेजियम को ये गैस आ गई, वरना यहाँ आने का मतलब क्या?
It took the courage of just one entrepreneur to set the ball rolling. Today, in Firozabad, more than 45 pot furnace units and over half of the 900-odd muffle furnace units have adopted the improved technology and use natural gas. The shift to cleaner fuel has also impacted local workers like Pappu Yadav and thousands like him who work grueling hours in the heat of the furnaces.
गैस आने से फायदे हुए कि लोगों को बीमारियां हो जाती थी, जुकाम, खांसी, नज़ले जैसे कई एक रोग हो जाते थे और मेहनत ज़्यादा पड़ती थी। तो वो मेहनत कम हुई, लोगों को बीमारियों से छुटकारा मिला और पूरे शहर में जो धुआं छाया रहता था उससे सभी लोगों को आराम मिला।
The Firozabad model has answered many questions and policymakers have taken note.
The way forward for these sectors would be to demonstrate to the people who work in these small scale units that the improved environmentally benign technologies are also more cost competitive that they do not lead to reduction in employment but possibly increase in employment.
Today, the skies over the Taj look blue. The monument is still a magnet for the tourism, the transport and hospitality business which supports the livelihood of millions. Things may not be perfect, but it is a beginning to ensure that the Taj Mahal remains as resplendent as ever. But questions remain. Is judicial activism and governmental intervention the only way to ensure that industries comply with clean environment standards? The answer lies 1,000 kilometers away from Firozabad. The Naroda industrial area was set up in 1967. It is a cluster of many engineering and chemical units. For years, they waited for the local municipal corporation to provide them with basic infrastructure like waste disposal, good roads and underground sewage facilities.
We are generating employment, we are generating revenue, not to Ahmedabad corporation, we are generating revenue for state and central government. But we have been totally ignored since last 20 years.
Seeing no action by the authorities, the industries set up a Naroda Industrial Association and all independent units became members of the association. The NIA set up a Naroda Enviro Projects Company, and through that they set up a common effluent treatment plant to treat the waste from the industries, mostly chemical and dyeing units. This helped them to monitor the performance of each member and to ensure that they forward their waste to the treatment plant. The biological waste and sludge formed during treatment is used to operate a biogas plant which helps to meet the electricity requirements of the waste treatment plant. In addition, they operate a clean production center that works with the industries to reduce pollution at the source itself and reutilize the waste generated. One example is the reuse of gypsum generated in cement industry.
Earlier, we were diverting all our chemical gypsum to our solid waste site. But now, out of 700 ton per month generation of chemical gypsum, we are able to divert more than 650 tons chemical gypsum to cement factory.
Another example of their efforts for cleaner, energy-efficient processes is a solar dryer for dyes. It operates on a combination of wind and solar energy. With 100 such units in the complex, the potential yearly savings on energy run into a few lakh rupees. The first demo unit led to interest expressed by other units keen to replicate the model. The cluster clearly demonstrates that small-scale sector units can be inspired to execute and follow self-monitoring mechanisms that replicate good environmental practices. The Naroda site has had gurus nodding in approval.
I think if we were to take a more proactive approach and work with polluting industries so that they are able to improve their performance before we have to wait for judicial intervention, that would probably yield the best results. But for that there has to be a commitment on the part of a number of stakeholders, including and starting with the government. Of course, scientific institutions have to come forward and provide solutions. NGOs have to play their role vis-a-vis equity issues, community participation, etc. But I don't think it would be right for us to sit back and wait for the judiciary to intervene in every case.
Most visitors to Naroda relish a visit to the Eco Park, which is filled with blooming flowers and excellent sightings of birds. They would be surprised to know that this was once a hazardous solid waste disposal site. The flower beds here were once solid waste disposal pits. But despite such small sparks of hope and a robust 8 to 9% growth in the recent years, the truth is that Indian industry has been following antiquated technologies which gorge on fuels and belch out huge amounts of pollution. Are development and environment mutually incompatible? Is it possible really to produce substantial amounts of cheap energy using local resources and still not damaging the earth? The NTPC power plant at Dadri generates power from a combination of coal and gas. It utilizes 3.67 million tons of coal every year, producing nearly 180 tons of ash every hour. Extraction and disposal of such huge quantities of ash as slurry would have required nearly 65,000 tons of water per day. Besides vast land areas for constructing ash dikes. In an attempt to utilize its waste as a useful resource, the Dadri power station has adopted dry ash disposal system, which requires nearly 1/3 the land and whose water requirement is only 1/50th, as compared to wet ash disposal systems. They are also using electrostatic precipitators with 99.5% efficiency to arrest all fly ash and fugitive dust from boilers, an attempt towards a cleaner environment. The ash mounds have been converted into a green area and planted with medicinal trees and flowering plants. But the key aspect of the NTPC plant is its attempt to ensure that waste material of one industry becomes raw material for the next industry. NTPC's Ash Utilization Technology Park demonstrates this. The use of fly ash for making building materials like fly ash bricks, Portland Pozzolana cement is perhaps the answer for India's need for cleaning thermal power plant operations.
We need to make everybody learn how to produce more of that functional utility from less. Number two, we are going to get away from the concept of cradle to grave. We must follow the principle of cradle to cradle. Nothing gets into the environment. Zero discharge. Number three, we cannot solely rely on regulations. They have to be complemented by market-based financial instruments.
New notifications from the Ministry of Environment and Forests make it mandatory for any construction activity within 100 kilometers radius of a coal-based power plant to use fly ash. Increasingly, fly ash-based cement has become a preferred choice for large infrastructure projects. For instance, the Delhi Metro has used this resource in an extensive way. Fly ash utilization saves the fertile topsoil and creates new opportunities for better utilization of land. The highway to sustained economic growth is connecting people and lands. But the road network in India is in serious need of improvement and expansion. The Government of India has allocated Rs 54,000 crores for building of highways and renovating existing ones. The Gujarat State Highways Project, or GSHP, provides an interesting case study for vigilance in handling environmental and social concerns. In a thirsty state like Gujarat, care has been taken to plan borrow areas that act as water harvesting sites that are used by the local population for irrigation and water for cattle. The borrow areas collect precious rainwater and provide a vital fallback in the long, hot, dry season. Special care of water bodies is a key feature of this project. This well was a primary source of drinking water for a cluster of 11 villages. Its removal would have added additional miles to the daily trudge for every home. So it may seem odd to outsiders, but bang in the middle of the road alignment, the well was left as it is. Even though negotiating the highway with a heavy pot on their head is a problem for most villagers, they are thankful that the well has not been closed.
The imperative for environmental regulation has come from many sources. It has come from increased public awareness, it has come from judicial activism, it has come from the work of NGOs, it has come most importantly from the concerns in Parliament over environmental issues. And I think that all these together have played a role in ensuring that the technologies that are now the current generation both enable India to compete in the world as well as to address its environmental and resource efficiency problems.
The saline desert plains of Kutch are the last home of this endangered species. The wild asses roam freely in Little Rann of Kutch, one of the largest wildlife sanctuaries in India. The highway circumvents their refuge. The diminishing food base in the sanctuary, however, forces the wild ass population to cross the highway to the nearby farms in search of food. This causes wildlife casualties as well as highway safety hazards. The project, in partnership with the Forest Department, has taken special care to improve the food base within the sanctuary. The measures include creating food gardens and water holes. In addition, underpasses and signboards to caution drivers have been created for the trotting animals and to make way for wildlife. Environmental neglect can threaten not only India's wildlife, but its environment and its future generations. Environmental stewardship by industry can improve economic sustainability, encourage public participation, and enhance livelihoods. Above all, a strong government regulation mechanism that rewards good practices and punishes errors can provide answers to most development questions.